Welcome to a special edition of the PAPERI Bright Minds series, where we spotlight the pioneers shaping the future of genomics, precision medicine, and health equity across Africa. As we celebrate PAPERI's first anniversary, we are proud to feature a rising leader at the intersection of dentistry, genetics, and research, Dr. Salma Kabbashi.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the PAPERI Bright Minds series, where we celebrate and learn from exceptional individuals driving advancements in genetics, genomics, healthcare, and beyond across Africa and globally. My name is Miriam Youssef, and it's an honor to have you join us today. So, today we are thrilled to welcome Dr. Salma Kabbashi. Dr. Salma is the project manager of the Craniofacial Biology Department, Faculty of Dentistry, University of Western Cape, UWC. She is a clinical periodontist with a keen interest in genetics and molecular fields. Her PhD focuses on the genetic and microbial susceptibility to periodontitis in the WC population, culminating in the establishment of novel reference panel for the genetic and microbial profiles of the periodontitis patients in South Africa. Dr. Salma is a dentist scientist co-investigator on several projects and lectures, both undergrad and postgrad dentistry students in various modules. She is also a clinician in Dental Genetic Clinic in Tygerberg campus and Red Cross Hospital, Cape Town, South Africa. Dr. Salma is actively involved in developing craniofacial biology curricula for postgrad degrees, diploma, masters, and PhDs, and currently serves as the secretary of the African Society for Dental and Craniofacial Genetics, ASDCG. Dr. Salma is a recipient of the 2023 International Association for Dental Research IADR John Gray Fellowship. So, in this session, we will explore Dr. Salma's journey, her contributions to genetic and oral medicine, and the lessons she has learned along the way. So, we're
Thank
super proud to have you with us.
Thank you very much, and I'm really honored to be interviewed by you in PAPERI.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, let me start by the first question, which is, can you share with us your journey into dental genetics? What inspired you and your focus on this field?
Well, I think my journey started even before I realized, back when I was doing my bachelor degree in Khartoum University in Sudan. The only thing I realized at that time that I always enjoyed the subjects with the science more than the clinical work, actual dental work, filling extraction, and so on, like oral medicine, perio, oral pathology, and this kind of stuff. Until I started my master degrees here at the University of Western Cape in periodontology. Then I did realize while I'm doing the research that I'm curious, basically. So yes, I did enjoy the surgery and the clinical work, but when it came to the research itself, I felt even my previous supervisor said, you look different when you're working in your thesis or research. You're more relaxed, you're more engaged. So something that drove me into genetics is whenever we read about periodontitis, which is the main disease we study in periodontology, there's always this statement. It's the pathogenesis of the disease is not well understood. It's unknown. Like there's something enigmatic there. So that was intriguing for me. And because it's a multifactorial disease, most of the unknown part, I found out that it's related to genetics. So moving forward, that's what drove me to get involved in my PhD, investigating the genetics of this disease. And during my PhD, I came across genetics of several oral diseases, and I just found out that that's my passion, basically.
That's great. So, you are a founding member of the African Society for Dental and Craniofacial Genetics. What motivated you to the establishment of this society?
Yes, I am a founding member, and I did play an instrumental role in establishing the society. But I need to clear out that the idea of the society itself was my mentor, Professor Managarit Chetty, idea that she discussed it with us, her team, and the main reason for this is that genetics in oral health is generally overlooked. Even in the curriculum, undergrad, postgrad, it's not integrated well. Not everyone, even I, when I was in my bachelor degree, I didn't have many information about genetics of the diseases. So, and there is no formal platform that connect people like us. Like we're basically clinicians or dentists, but interested in academia and mainly in the genetics. At the same time, the precision medicine is gaining attraction. So the idea came that we need to bridge this gap to unify the efforts and raise awareness of that portion of people or clinician interested in this part of the oral health that is neglected, and in this African population that is underrepresented in general.
Yes, I have to agree with you in this part. Genetics is it's always regarding neurology or oncology.
Yeah,
People tend to overlook the oral health. Okay,
exactly.
so as the founding member of the ASDCG, and what is your main goals, and how do you envision its impact on the oral health research in Africa?
Okay. Generally, African Society Dental and Craniofacial Genetics has the goals are threefold. The most important thing, we would like to foster or promote research in dental, interdisciplinary research, basically, in dental and craniofacial genetics. We also would like to foster capacity building by education and mentoring. We would like to develop the dentist scientist workforce that is lacking in our research areas. We also want to include genetics of oral health, and we are advocating to the inclusion of genetic of oral health into the public health policies, because, as you said, it's overlooked
Yes.
usually, the oral health. So I think by doing this, we will position Africa or us, or even the dental genetics, oral health genetics in Africa into global relevance. And also we can, it can have, it can have like local impact. There is a population specific data that we can provide, and that will help locals and global.
Great. So, how has the shift from oral biology to craniofacial biology at University of Western Cape influenced research direction and training?
Well, the shift was actually transformative because when we moved from only focusing in our research or even treatment into just the oral cavity, it's
Mhm.
now broader and more inclusive. It includes the bone biology, developmental biology, genetics, molecular imaging, radiology, and stuff like that. So we even encourage the postgraduate trainee, while they're like masters or PhD, while they're doing their research, to be interdisciplinary. Don't focus only on one thing, like include clinical, include radiology, if possible, genetics, molecular, and that actually make them think they can cross the barriers than the normal traditional thinking, because they're mostly clinician, to more inclusive one, and that's actually the application of translational science.
Okay, so how do you guys at the ASDCG support the development of a dentist scientist workforce in Africa?
We are doing so because African Society for Dental Craniofacial Genetics is a networking platform, but it's also the incubator for the dentist scientist workforce, because we do provide mentorship, we do host educational webinars, we did and still doing, and hopefully will do collaboration with other institutions. Even we promoted collaboration between the members themselves. if it's possible. And we do send calls for funding, projects, scholarship that help the development of the dentist scientist workforce. So the main goal for us is to provide a community that makes this workforce specific one, because it's not common in dentistry, and I know it's starting to raise in medicine. So we want to provide a community to make them seen and support them, and even encouraging them to stay in academia and research despite whatever challenges they face. That's why we're here, to help them to proceed.
Okay, so I have a question. Actually, you know that academia and research is not the favorite scope for clinicians, and that genetics is not an easy science. So, were you faced by resistance from the students on either undergrad or postgrad when you suggested including genetics in their curriculums?
Well, that's the thing. For especially for clinician, but especially for undergrad, they are at the age of just looking like, imagining themselves working in patients, making surgeries, working in
Yes.
the clinic, but like academia and studying, and in the studying genetics, that was hard. But and that's one of the things that when we established this society and started to advertise we started with the undergraduate, actually, to we introduce them to a new aspect. Like we make them engaged by saying you can attend lots of conferences. When you go in this line, you can find many funds because you're going to be in a niche, stuff like that. But the more we talk about, the more they attend the educational webinars, they become more open to the idea. I don't think that at that stage, especially undergrad, they don't grasp the meaning of genetics and how it affects every single disease or decision, clinical decision you make while you're working in the patient. So that was the start. And also my mentor, Professor Chetty, did publish many commentaries and papers talking about the importance of incorporating genetics within the undergrad curriculum, because this is where they understand that there is something more interesting than just managing the patient. It's actually to understand how did this disease happen. So we are still in the process of encouraging them, but we're doing well so far.
That's an amazing work. So, could you tell us more about your PhD research on genetics and microbial factors in Peru in South Africa?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, because periodontitis is the main focus in our work and in my master degree, and it's a multifactorial disease. So we realized that it has many factors, but the main variation between individuals that makes one person get the disease rather than the other is basically the genetics. So, and also another big factor is the microbiome. And while we're doing our preparing for the project, we realized that there are population differences. And since African populations have the most diverse genetics, it was a good idea to start from a complex, diverse, even more diverse population like the South African, because there are distinct ethnic groups there. So that was the start. We gathered information about the common SNPs or mutation from populations, and we started to do the same. And we did find unique genetic profile here. We did the same in South Africa, and we did the same for the microbial profile, and yet we had unique microbial profile here. And the end goal is that the problem with periodontitis, it's an irreversible disease. Once you get it, you're not cured. You can be managed, and it's expensive and time consuming. So it would be beneficial to start prevention early. And what's better than knowing that this patient has a genetic susceptibility than any other tool. So the future hope or goal is to develop point-of-care devices that clinician can use in the clinic, and it has the genes related to this population. So once you got positive, that means you're more susceptible. So at least we can tailor your management plan or prevention plan according to that. So that's basically my PhD.
That's amazing. So, what challenges have you faced developing the genetic and microbial references panel for the African population, either in the university with the people themselves or on an authority level?
There have been, as any PhD, there have been many challenges, or had, because I finished, alhamdulillah. But the main challenge was the scarcity of genetic data in African population, so we can relate to or compare to, and that drives us to the main issue of lack of research in Africa. So other challenges I faced was the infrastructure. It was a bit difficult to we did manage, but to reach to that point, it took time for the sequencing, to get bioinformatics support. The funding was also limiting factors. You know, it plays a role in your sample size. The bigger, the better, but sometimes you're governed by the funding. A South African population were heterogeneous, although it was difficult to manage them or to deal with that during the PhD, but we progressed successfully, and I think that's why we received a unique profile because of this heterogeneity. So it ended up to be a good thing, mainly.
Amazing. So, how is your department using radiology, clinical, and molecular data in a complementary way?
Well, because it's a diagnostic department, it includes several sections or units like radiology, biology, pathology. So I think that makes the approach in our department is integrative. Because, for example, the radiology provides the visualization of the phenotype trait. And then the clinical part, we do have dental genetics clinic at our department, which is the first dental genetic clinic in sub-Saharan Africa that deals with the genetic of all the diseases, whether complex or rare or so on. So from this clinical aspect, we gain information about the behavior of the disease, the health of the patients, and then taking these informations into the molecular lab that we also have in our institution that give us an understanding of the biological mechanism. So it's a holistic approach to the disease, and that helps us into translational research and giving a meaningful answers and meaningful approach to each condition we face.
Okay, so let me ask you that one question. Regarding the patients you received or the population that you deal with, how successful were you to convince them that genetics or going to the genetic clinics is a good approach for them to protect them from periodontitis or any disease that's related to genetics or in a preventative way?
Well, actually, because when they reach to the point that they visit us, that means the disease is there. So I think they're very convinced that they want to do whatever it takes to, for example, for monogenic diseases that maybe the sister, the sibling, the father, the mother has it. So they're actually very cooperative because, and that's the next step. As I said, we want to include this work we do in public health data, like the people that hasn't reached our visiting us this point yet. So I think that would be the challenge more, to convince them genetic is important. But the one that come the clinic, so unfortunately when they come, they already, or one of the members of the family already got the disease, so they're easy to deal with. They actually saw the effect of the disease, so it was
That's cool,
fine.
baby steps, but it's cool.
Yeah.
So, what types of collaborations, either regional or global, does the ASDCG engage or hope to foster?
So far, we had established strong regional ties. We do have institutional collaboration with within South Africa and other African countries like Nigeria and Uganda and many more. And we are working to, and also hoping to finish establishing collaboration at the US and UK. But whatever country that share our focus, we would love to collaborate with, because the main focus is to create a consortia that focus on dental and craniofacial research in Africans. And we also focus on leadership equity, because we want the African researchers or scientists to lead or co-lead the research conducted in Africa, rather than helicopter research where they send the samples or the data to non-African countries to conduct the research there. And that's why we're Africa for Africans, basically. But we do welcome any collaboration or help in the research, of course.
That's a great step. That's a really great step. It actually saves money and time. So
Exactly.
I hope it works out. So, from your point of view, how can initiatives like PAPERI support or align with your efforts in capacity building or research advocacy?
Well, PAPERI has already established itself as a powerful tool for education and training, and I have learned a lot from PAPERI myself. So I think we do share, both societies share the same interest in ethics, genetics, policies, and I think we can co-create modules in ethics, in genetics, in policy advocacy, tailored for oral health, because it's a bit different from genetics and that from medicine, and that would actually, I think, would attract attention of the dentist or our colleagues or collaborators that have the same interest, because as we mentioned, it's not something that everyone knows about.
Mhm.
So I think PAPERI would help us a lot in providing, developing skills and training to our members or our audience, basically.
Okay, so what do you see as the most urgent research gaps in craniofacial genetics across Africa?
I think there is a pressing need of creating large-scale population-specific data in African populations, because most of the research or the diagnostic models that we have are Eurocentric data sets that does not apply in African populations. And we do know that African populations has more genetic diversity than other population in the world. Actually, information driven from the African population would be, I as assume, applicable to other population because it's the more diverse. So if we try to provide data, that would be great. Also, the infrastructure, of course, the funding is a gap. The integration of omics technologies into the clinical data set that we already have. There are many countries with many clinical data sets, but due to the lack of infrastructure, we could not use the benefit from omics technology that provide many answers. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the integration of oral health genetics is crucial into policy, public health policies, so people would be aware of this aspect of life or disease.
Uh, what advice would you offer to budding African dentists and scientists interested in omics and genetic research?
Start where you are. Even if you're still at the clinic and away from academia and institution, the curiosity or the question that comes into your mind actually may lead lots of research and provide many answers. If you have anything you felt um, abnormal or you couldn't understand it, that can be the base of a research. So seek mentorship, ask questions, seek collaboration. Um, any small idea you have may change people's health and life, basically. Be ethical, be bold. That's important.
You're right. And um, where do you think we are from achieving what the Europeans and the US have achieved regarding the craniofacial genetics and in the periodontitis field?
Well, I don't think we're far, because I do believe that our population has more answers and it's needed even for other populations. It's just that what I want to point out, we need more personnel, African personnel, because the problem that even our scientists, researchers, for many times when they reach a good level of work skills and education and research, they might leave the whole continent and go work abroad. So we need to keep them in. We need to benefit from their knowledge. We need to raise more capacity building. And I think if we had enough or focus on raising training personnel, we might go so far beyond other populations, because we do have the diversity. We do have the answers here that can
I
apply
really,
to.
I really hope so. So, Dr. Salma, your interview is part of our special July 6th celebration as PAPERI Turns ONE. We are so proud to spotlight scientists like you. You are shaping the future of health and genomics in Africa. Would you like to share a short message or a wish to mark this occasion for PAPRI and for the wider community working to advance science, equity, and impact across the continent?
Yes, sure. Happy first year anniversary, Papiri. I know it's been only 1 year, but obviously Papiri was a very powerful platform in mentorship and education, and I'm really, really, really proud of to be a member of it. It's always attract me, and I feel proud that there are people getting benefit, and I always try to spread your newsletter and your news
Thank you.
in our society, and I know this is only the beginning for Papiri. Thank you very
So
much.
thank you, Dr. Salma. Thank you for sharing your journey, your research, and your vision with us today. Your dedication in advancing oral genetics and building local capacity is truly inspiring, and we're honored to have had you as a part of this special session. So, thank you to everyone who joined us for this edition of the Papri Bright Mind series, marking our first anniversary with voices that reflect the heart of African innovation and leadership in health and science. And well, just a last call of action, follow Papri on social media to stay connected with upcoming interviews, webinars, and opportunities. The celebration continues, so stay tuned, stay inspired, and thank you all for being a part of Papri's community.